may have been dancing a little too hard to like click the stop sound button.
I was thoroughly enjoying that music tonight.
Yeah, those first two tracks of this one, it's called Funky Music. It's
Oh, right to the point.
the first two tracks are great. The first track is like kind of more reggae, and there's two ladies walking on the beach. And this second track, it's by an artist called Silent Partner. It's a little bit of ska, and it has got a angry cat.
That's all ska does.
It's just got a picture of an angry cat. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. That's not at all what I expected. Well, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
I hear yours is cold.
It is rainy and cold, and it's probably not so cold. Like if it wasn't raining, it wouldn't be cold. But the fact that it's raining and it's just, ugh. So, yeah, you sent your rain, or Druid sent her rain. I don't know where it came from.
My Tuesday has been beautifully sunny and like 70 with like a nice breeze. Perfection. This is like my all year round weather. Actually, one of the quilt photos in here is a cigar, and like I could just sit on the porch and enjoy that cigar. It's not what I thought it was when I first looked at it, but
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
hey, Jan.
And I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off today because I leave for our trip tomorrow.
I have a day and a half before I have to go because it's only 2 hours for me. Sorry. Hopefully the weather will clear out in the mid-Atlantic. And
I'm going a day early because unlike you not cool people, I'm going to go shopping with our friend Am Hermes. So, and you know what else we're gonna do that we just decided today?
Are you going to a restaurant that I really like that I'm not gonna get to go to? Oh, shame on you. Is it gonna be bacon? Is it gonna be the bacon place? Oh, I hate you guys.
Yeah, I literally was like, what are we gonna do for dinner tomorrow? And I thought for sure she'd probably mention the Mexican place we went to last time that is phenomenal, guys, and authentic and great. And really inexpensive too for what you're getting. It's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
She immediately was like, what was that bacon place? And I was like, you're picking up what I'm putting down, aren't you?
Yeah, and we have our dear friend Barb to thank for turning us on to that place. That they have candied bacon on everything. It is delightful.
It's amazing. And I thought when she mentioned it, I thought like, oh God, it's probably just open for lunch and breakfast. Nope, they're open till 8 p.m.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
well,
so,
I guess I'll have to live vicariously.
Yeah, nanny, haha. And then that means the next day too, we get to have the diner along with the shopping. Speaking of shopping, I was at a show yesterday. And I got lots of goodies, including a quilt that I did not plan on buying.
I heard a rumor that the quilt dealer like really browbeat you into buying that quilt.
Not just browbeating, like here's the story. Like she walled up the quilt and started beating me over the head with it. And if you knew the dealer, that's not something you think she'd ever do. And like that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And just so everyone knows, I informed her that was the story that I was going to make up and tell everybody. So
that she stuffed the quilt in a bag and just hit you with it.
She just smacked me. It was just like, but it was at the end of the day. I was there much longer than I thought I was. And I got lots of goodies. So the deal is because like we're leaving and stuff, Steph gets to see the goodies in Pennsylvania. I'll probably get out of the car and walk over to her, and she'll just be running and just like screw
I'll
you,
snatch
and
the
just, like,
box
push me out of the way. Yeah, and like run to get bags out of the car. So she gets to see them ahead of time. But everyone else, we have a stitching glitch like when we get back, and I'll show them on that show. So, including anything else maybe that we pick up while we're down in Pennsylvania. I am going for like shopping fun, but I've already spent a significant amount of money. So, I might just be like, okay, I rein it in. But who knows? We'll see. But yeah, don't fret. You will get to see things. Hi, Arlene. Arlene, I know that you've been
Hey,
shopping too,
Arlene.
girlfriend. I have seen you out on the Facebook prowl shopping for things.
Yeah, in fact, I believe that Jill sent me a screenshot of an auction. It was like, look what Arlene is bidding on.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if you won the things I saw you bidding on, but like you also potentially have some eye candy to show off. Just
Yeah.
saying. Okay. So
Yeah.
before we get like too crazy here into like nonsense, let's just announcements real quick. What am I doing? Where is my screen? Here it is. Here it is. So we got this. It's May. Oh my God. Not only is it May, it's mid-May.
I know. Like, what?
Remember when I forgot to put this up and then was talking about it? I'm like, so it's February. Like, yeah. So it's the 13th here. And then Stephanie are going with, remember her stream on Thursday is canceled because we've got to get to dinner with people. And then yeah, the 24th is that Stitch and Glitch, so we'll show a bunch of eye candy about our trip. Like I'm sure we'll probably tell you about our trip before then, but like we'll really talk about our trip on that stream.
Yeah.
And then for next Tuesday the 20th, while I have this up, we're doing chapters 6 and 7. Janet, I got it right this time. Pages 106 to 145. Janet caught me. I had posted the wrong chapters on Instagram and copied them over to Facebook. They were the right page numbers. I just said the wrong chapters, and she caught it like 2 days ago. So I'm like, what's worse, that like I said that or that you just caught it?
No, that everybody does their reading about 20 minutes before we're supposed to start.
Yeah. So that's,
Hey, Alicia.
that's it for announcement-y things. But Steph wanted to talk a little bit about some stuff before we got going.
Yeah, so let me step up on my my quilty soapbox, y'all. So I mean, we know, we don't like to get political. Like, I know you guys hear from me all the time on my stream. I don't get political, but then I get up on a soapbox about stuff. But this one's important. So if you were not aware, of course, well, you should be aware that funding for a lot of federal funding has been pulled, canceled, etc. Across the board, museums, small institutions, artists, it's just being canceled. And the Quilt Alliance, who I have been a benefactor of their work because I was, or no. Benefactor is like, whatever the word is. I have received support from them as the artist James recipient. Yeah, but isn't there another word? Benefactor, benefactee? I don't know. In any event, I was the artist James scholar along with a collective last year, 2024, and I was so proud, and I remain proud to be affiliated with them through that program. Well, a bad thing has happened. They had and now we're talking $20,000. I know $20,000 to me, it's a lot of money. If somebody gave me $20,000, I would be very happy. But it's a drop in the bucket compared to like these billions and trillions of dollars that people are talking about. But their grant, this $20,000 grant that they applied for and received. So they applied for this in 2023, and it was the second phase of the Community Quilt Days project. And what their goal, so they had been in rural Appalachia, they had gotten all kinds of like these community quilters save our stories type stuff, the oral history project basically. So they applied to the NEA, which is the National Endowment for the Arts, for funds to expand the documentation to 5 new groups. Let's count those 5 groups. African American quilters, Native American quilters, modern quilters, quilters who volunteer for the Quilts of Valor Foundation, and let's see, oh, wait a minute, is that only 4? Okay. Well, they said 5, but in any event, African American quilts, Indigenous Native American quilts, Quilts of Valor. these are for important things. And if you're not aware of Quilts of Valor, it is quilts that are made under certain guidelines to honor members of the military. So these are all good things. These are all important things. These were things that the Quilt Alliance has been looking at for multiple years now and planning. And so week before last, I think, they were informed that their grant has been terminated without any explanation other than this. The NEA is updating its grant-making policy priorities to focus funding on projects that reflect the nation's rich artistic heritage and creativity as prioritized by the president. Consequently, we are terminating awards that fall outside these new priorities. The NEA will now prioritize projects that elevate the nation's HBCUs, historic Black colleges and universities, and Hispanic serving institutions, celebrating the 250th anniversary of American independence, fostering AI competency, empowering houses of worship to serve communities, assisting with disaster recovery. Well, that's funny because FEMA just got all their money cut. Fostering skilled trade jobs, also a good thing. Making America healthy again. Well, okay, whatever. Supporting the military and veterans. Supporting tribal communities. And some other stuff. Oh, Asian American communities also being supported. So, like 3 of the multiple things that the Quilt Alliance was trying to support through this grant are in line with what the NEA is claiming is their current whatever. So I don't have any answers for this. I'm just mad as hell because I'm like, what? And their response was, your project, as noted below, unfortunately does not align with these priorities. Purpose, to support the research, documentation, and care of quilts. Now, you know that is not what the mission of their project said. That might have been like the one sentence summary, or it sounds more like they snipped off the important parts, like veterans, tribal communities. Mm-hmm. It just is so infuriating. Anyway, so like I guess where I'm going with this is, if you know any people that care about quilts, that care about quilt history and documentation, and not just like historic stuff, but like the quilt history of today, you know, the things that happened yesterday are today's history. So all the way up to QuiltCon, we've got important things to document. If you know anybody that is interested in making, you know, endowments, donations, etc., the Quilt Alliance is definitely one that can definitely use some help. Additionally, it's not just the Quilt Alliance.
It's pretty much any of these.
Yeah,
groups,
but some of the major ones that are like just sort of in the spotlight right now, the Berkeley Art Museum and Pacific Film Archive, which has a huge exhibit opening very soon about African American quilts, Eli Leon's quilts. Really important quilt collection. It is based around like the second migration. So, you know, again, I realize it's not like directly connected to HBCUs. It's still a really, really significant component of African American history. And, you know, they got theirs yanked. The Surface Design Association, they're waiting to hear about their grant submissions. I'm guessing it's going to be so I'm just mad about this right now. And writing to your Congress people, does that help? I don't know. I don't think it does. I've tried it in the past. I feel like you could get a lot of traction with the local people because you could show up at their office and put your fingers in their face. But, you know, how many people can get to Washington and do that? You can't. So it's very frustrating. And it's as you can see, I'm worked up about it. So I just wanted to put that out there to everybody. You know, if you haven't been reading the news, I know that I don't always get to read all of the important quilt related stuff that comes out. So I'm always grateful when, you know, people can sound the alarm and let me know about stuff. So that's what I am doing.
Yeah, the quilt index is affected.
Yeah.
I mean, museums are affected.
Literally anybody who has to rely on some grants. And I mean, I know Alicia's here, so I know she knows about this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's anybody. And just the fact that the, you know, arts and humanities, you know, it's all this stuff is so important. And having been involved in the arts literally all my life, and I remember some of this stuff, you know, the NEA stuff back in the day. And yes,
Oh, yeah, it's been a struggle a long time.
yeah, a new administration be here in a few years, things hopefully will change, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully some philanthropists will step up to the plate and, you know, get their tax loopholes to support the arts.
4 years, but 4 years is a long time for these organizations to
It is.
struggle.
Well,
and we might
yeah.
lose some in the meantime.
Exactly. There, it's you know, I don't see that the Quilt Alliance and some of the others are necessarily like on the brink of shutting down, but a few years can really, really happen. You know, that can happen. So, these are things that we care about.
I know you said like I don't know what the answer is, and I know that that can feel very like defeatist, like I have no control over anything. But the control that we have in this moment, right, is donate what you can, if that's money. If that's not money, which is perfectly fine, maybe you can donate time. You can share things online. You can talk to your friends about it. When they open these exhibits, go to them. Flood those exhibits. Make it so that no one can listen and say these aren't important, people don't want that. We saw what the MFA, the Fabric of a Nation, we saw how bananas that exhibit went. So like flood, like there's a new one opening at the American Folk Art Museum in New York City this fall, and Stephanie and I are already talking about going because we're close and we can go, and that's something that we can do.
And I was already looking for ways to get out to the Berkeley Museum, because there's a couple things I want to do out there anyway from a research standpoint, but I was like, I want to see this exhibit. I mean, this is Eli Leon. He was like a really important contributor, you know, to quilt study and quilt collecting. So anyway, it's like, I know it's frustrating, I think, when this kind of thing happens, like funding gets taken from so many places, and then it's like, but my thing's more important. No, my thing's more important, but my thing's more important. But I mean, I can say definitely the arts and humanities, they're not serving communities when they have things taken away. They're not serving children who need to be exposed to art and the humanities. And you know, we're like, I mean, I don't want to get into like the whole, you know, the how this snowballs, but you know, I'm sure you guys can all imagine. And absolutely what Jill is saying, you know, I know smaller museums often charge, you know, for admission. You know, roll up your you know, admission. If it's $8, give them 10. You know, it's $2 to you, right? Forgo your Dunkin' Donuts for a day. I'm looking at you, Jill. Yeah, I mean, you know, $5 or $10. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if enough people were willing to do that for, you know, their favorite museum, their local museum, or, you know, small organizations like the Quilt Alliance.
Yep. Or become members of these museums, even if they're not close.
Yeah.
If that's all you can do to help them survive, like every little. And I think part of what will help these, because we obviously, like, we you and me, like, are us as a community, like, we can't worry about everything all at once. That's why you have multiple groups of people worrying about many things at once. But in terms of like the quilt community, whether that's makers or historians, or, you know, we're kind of like in the middle of this, I think like for these organizations, these nonprofits, I think part of what will help them survive is kind of helping to cluster around each other, and lean on each other as an organization. I'm not necessarily talking financially, because obviously I understand there's laws and that gets messy, but if they're at least all sharing each other's strifes and kind of like, you know, hey, this organization needs us, everybody, you know, please go over here, like, share, subscribe kind of stuff. And then, oh, we got to get this one too, come over here, you know, like, if we can spread things that way.
Yeah.
And if that means that Stephanie and I are going to have to do streams that talk about it for the next 4 years, then that's what that's going to mean.
Yes, I will get out my little cup and just jingle my cup for half of the stream just to annoy people so much they'll send money places.
Well, if nothing else, I don't know. If the things aren't there, we can't go look at them and do streams about it. So
yeah, absolutely.
There's that too. All the more reason that we should be trying to go to these places in the next 4 years, so that we can help, we can bring the quilty goodness to the nerds.
Yeah. And I don't remember if I've shown this off yet.
I don't know if you showed it here. I know you showed it on your stream, but I'm kind of really regretting I didn't get that shirt.
Yeah, it was a little on the pricey side. It was more expensive than just the regular shirts there. It's from the International Quilt Museum. I just couldn't leave there without it. I was like, I'll forgo another souvenir to get this shirt because it was very cool. So yeah, I wore it. I was at the Baltimore Museum of Art today, and I wore this. I got lots of compliments on it. I'm like, yes, I am clearly pandering to you people to get what I want. So,
well, on that note, should we talk about some potholder quilts?
Let's talk about some potholder quilts.
Okay, so I actually got, even though I was running around like crazy today, I was able to stop for a second and just grab some photos from the book to kind of help visually guide us. Obviously, it is not all the pictures from the book because like that wouldn't be cool. But enough to help us have some things. Is that like stupid bar in the way, or can you not see that?
It's not in the way. I can't see it. You can only see it on your end. You can move it around now.
No. As long as it's not in the way, that's fine with me. So we're starting here with chapter 4. And right. The thing that stinks about me sharing my screen is like, now I can't really look at my notes. Well, actually, wait. I think I only shared that screen. Hold on. Maybe I can.
Before I forget, you guys, I'm going to drop the Quilt Alliance's, I'm dropping their link in here to that blog post. It's from Amy Milne, is she the executive director? I'm terrible. I can't remember what her title is, but she's got info.
I'll bet you our friend Alicia in the comments.
I was going to say, I bet Alicia knows. But yeah, she's got some info in there. So, help for them.
Okay, good. I can peek at my notes. It just pauses my screen share, but it stays up as to what I had on it. Yay!
Awesome. What I will say about this quilt, just real quick, is I love this quilt. I think this is a really cool one.
I don't think Maine State. Yeah, okay, Maine State Museum. So since this is Maine State Museum, I have a feeling we might potentially see this quilt, on the Maine State Museum's field trip.
Yeah, especially since I noticed that Lorraine Labar, aka Lori Labar, who you know is very involved in the AQSG seminar. So I would, yeah.
And also, like, just to like bring out a little teaser in the moment, her book about Maine quilts is rumored to be the book that we're reading next quarter. Just saying. Yes, I made sure, I'm pretty sure I made sure to get the book attribution of each like quilt or something that I grabbed. I was worried that it would come out weird and not, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, looks good to me. It's got all the info there.
So I just want to say, like, this quilt is the Bark Messenger Quilt 1850, made by the Ladies Sewing Circle of the Cumberland Center Congregational Church. Whew. That's a mouthful. In Cumberland Center, Maine, which is right near. It's not far from where my aunt has her lake house.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 99 by 108. One of the several quilts made by the Ladies Sewing Circle between 1849 and 1855. There are about 64 inscribed names, and I in starting this. One of the first things to point out here is just right in the beginning here where research points to the central coast of Maine as the epicenter of potholder quilts.
I love that. It's like I picture earthquakes, and it's like and all these potholder quilts are like exploding out of Maine.
This particularly large group of friendship quilts made in Cumberland County in this area. Mm-hmm. So just some highlights here of some notes that I took from Lorraine Labar's little article here. The Cumberland Center Congregational Church had a ladies sewing circle, ladies sewing circle just sounds so cute. We should start calling guilds that. Only if they're ladies, though. If they're not ladies, I can understand. But
well, I kind of suspect that our guild elders prefer guild to sewing circle because sewing circle can be a little demeaning. It's
Really?
kind,
I think
yeah.
it's the cutest. I
I
think
mean,
it's the cutest thing.
it definitely has like a very cute, like old school ring to it, but I also think that it's kind of harkens back to this idea of like the coffee clatch, the sewing circle, like, oh, just the ladies getting together to do their little thing. I think that's probably
You know,
the.
it's so funny because whenever you see photos of it, you can see in the photos, like they are doing a lot more than just their little thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Anywho, so the town of this Cumberland Center town, full of farmers and mariners, um, which meant that male household, the heads, could be away from home for months or years at a time, meaning women carried even more household responsibility than usual. And I just mused here. Could the potholder style have been attractive because it's less cumbersome um for people that are carrying on, more responsibility at a particular amount of time. If they just have to make one whole completed little patch,
Mm-hmm.
I say patch, but it's because one of the quilts in here, it's like the squares are like 5.5 inches, and I was like, wow, that's really tiny. But yeah, like could that have been less cumbersome? And then
Yeah.
she also points out that 8 of 10 quilts made by this sewing circle are in the potholder method, so it was a favorite. Um, and then the large number of inscribed names, and they appear to be made for people at the heart of the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the
And
fact that there are and I mean this is a question I will want to pose to Pam when we get to do our interview with her. I kind of wonder, like, I mean, she's definitely saying like epicenter, right? It seems to me that whether somebody in this group came up with the idea or got it from somewhere else, it does seem to be they made 10 quilts and 8 of them are potholder quilts. I mean, that's a pretty big concentration, for
mm-hmm,
it not to be literally been born there, the idea,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this particular sewing circle, they only seem to have made quilts for people in their religious community.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting how there's very, very minimal overlap between their quilt and the other. What was it? Were they the Baptist? What were they? I can't remember now.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention.
Was it the Fisher?
There's
I'm
more
looking
than
at the
one
right page.
church
It,
mentioned in
yeah,
here.
there's multiple ones. See, Emmaus, that's the one in Virginia. I know it says it in here, how she described. Okay, the Methodist, the Poland Corner Methodist Church made a quilt. I guess she didn't. I guess that quilt was not a potholder quilt, and therefore not in here. Um, but yeah, I think that's interesting that there's that it was really kept within the religious community and not like the neighborhood community, right? And I mean, people, I guess, were to some degree they were insular in terms of their physical communities, their neighborhood, if that's what you would call it. But also I can see, the church community is also very important in how, not to say that people would not have mingled outside of their church community, but they probably spent a lot more time with those people, their church community, than they maybe would have. Like, they're not having neighborhood block parties. I guess that's the point I'm trying to say.
Well, and I mean, you do see more interfaith mingling later on in here when we get to
Mm-hmm.
some like Freemason type stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would have been
Mm-hmm.
intercongregational. But I took a photo of this particular quilt because this one is made. Where am I supposed to? It appears to have been made for a person, couple, or family that was leaving the community for Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
A central block for which the quilt has been named bears an embroidered ship. Do this right here. I know
Yep.
it's kind of dark, and I don't. Let me see. I don't know if zooming is gonna help. Oh no, it does a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
I
helps
thought
a
it
little
might.
bit. Yeah, I pressed
Yeah,
my face against it.
yeah. When the photos are dark or so, it makes me nervous about. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad. So yes, the central block for which the quilt has been named bears an embroidered ship. So it's funny because they left. I'm guessing they left Maine by ship. The bark messenger was the ship laden with friendship bound for Wellfleet. And if you don't know what Wellfleet is, that is a town on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, known for their oysters.
Oh, I,
Wellfleet oysters are
hmm,
very
I
delicious.
love an
Just
oyster.
yeah, yeah. so you.
I just think this one was, I mean, just visually appealing because of, I mean, it's a scrappy they're scrappy backgrounds. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't all white, like some of the other ones. Um,
Well, like
like
this one.
the one that's on the very next page. Yeah. I mean, this one's great too, but I don't know, there's something like really intriguing about all of the different colored backgrounds and just again from pressing my face to the page. I mean, they look like some of them look like double blue and double pink maybe, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're more
Mm-hmm.
of a shirting. I'm not sure like exactly what the prints are, but they're a small print. And I just think it adds just so much like I don't know, warmth and depth to the quilt.
Well, how about even having like these pieced setting triangles?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I also love the right at the cutouts, those two, you know, those
Mm-hmm.
two blocks being like pivoted open.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess when it rests around the four posters, they would kind of come back together almost.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
See, that's the
that's
great
pretty
thing
cool.
about having multiple people looking at quilts.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's made by the same group of women. And let's see, this one's, is it the same year? I forget, 1852.
Yeah,
And
it's a
this one,
really, it's a
1850.
fairly, yeah, it's a pretty close period of time that they were
Yeah.
pumping these all out.
And this one is like so much more stylized. This one's on 62, if you're looking in your book. And this one says Ladies Sewing Circle Quilts from the Ladies Sewing Center, Ladies Sewing Circle of the Cumberland Center Congregational Church. It's funny, later on, Lori in her article says the C4 quilts, and I'm like, what is that?
She,
What is
yeah,
C4?
she
Now I
introduced,
know.
yeah, she introduces it like at the beginning where she says C4.
Yeah,
Um,
but I usually like expect like a little like exclamation point that, or I'm sorry, exclamation point, brackets, you know, that just say like, you know, for the four C's of the title of the church, and I'm like C4, is that like 4H? Like what is? So anyways, so yes, Congregational Church, 1852. Cumberland Center, Maine. Cotton silk wool, 90 by 84. A paper label sewn to the back states, made by the Ladies Sewing Circle, Cumberland, Connecticut, 1852. The quilt contains elaborately embroidered blocks, and there are 28 inscribed names, but no indication of its purpose. Courtesy of Quilts Inc., Houston, Texas. Um, I will come back to this photo, but I did get the paper
cover the
because I was
paper,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I was like, that's so, I love that stuff. And then obviously next to it here, you have this like super duper embroidered block. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is some heavy.
Is that embroidery?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't
Yep.
sure if that because there's some rotary purse in here as well.
Nope, that is embroidery.
Um, it's
Yeah,
one
I
of
will
the
go
other
back.
ones here has some really really nice rotary purse on it. I think it's the Virginia quilt. No,
Oh, this one's still looking pretty good.
it's the other Virginia quilt.
Oh, okay. I really like this block, this like feathery
Yeah, that one's really
leafy
striking.
looking
Yeah,
thing.
it really
This
pops
one
out.
reminds me of Mardi Gras masks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've noticed so like in the first quilt, there's a couple of these paper cut looking things, or at least one.
Mm-hmm.
I
What
guess
is
maybe
this?
some of the other ones are kind of built of shapes that kind of make them look like paper cutting. But yes, there's more in this one, and then I think still more in the next one. No, maybe not. It just occurred to me that there's a decent amount of paper cutting in these.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I guess maybe I'm thinking of the Virginia ones too, have some like the oak leaf paper cutting, but seems like I guess it just falls in line with this time period, and that might be something that people just enjoy doing.
Well, and maybe especially in this place, in this particular place, like this one's very interesting. It almost kind of looks like pliers.
Oh, and see, yeah, I could see that. I kind of thought they looked like wishbones. Like,
I mean, yeah, well, I guess also if you forget like this piece up here, it kind of looks like lobster claws.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, leave it to me to see like weird stuff.
I always see weird stuff when I in the blocks.
Um, yeah, so I got that. And the thing about these two particular chapters is it's a lot of quilts. It's very little actual writing. Like Lori Labar's article just talks a lot about kind of each quilt and what they were made for. Um like later on here when she's talking about, well, this one.
Mm-hmm.
She mentions that, like, because this one is it's made by the Ladies Sewing Circle, but starts to talk about how there's not really an overlap of names between churches.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a Methodist and Congregational church, and then she mentions that they're only 3 miles apart. Despite their proximity, none of the women from the Congregational church appear to have participated. In she mentions the particular Poland corner quilt.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was saying. Like, I think even though they're like the physical geographic community was important, it seems like there was more closeness maybe with the church community. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like I said, it makes sense. The church community was very important in people's lives back then, and your leisure time activities, like I said, there weren't block parties back then, or neighborhood barbecues. It was, for the most part, it really their I guess what little leisure time they might have had probably was spent doing things like this for the church. So it doesn't surprise me that there's not a whole lot of overlap.
I wonder, I mean, I don't know anything about the history of quote like a block party or anything, but I wonder if potentially some of that comes out of historically the kind of gathering parties they'd have for harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
If that kind of, like,
who knows?
We don't, if someone one day was just like, well, we're not harvesting as a group anymore, so everyone gather your grills, we're going to the other end of the street.
We're going over to Joe's house.
Yeah, my neighborhood growing up, I grew up on a cul-de-sac, and we absolutely did that. You'd have 4 dads with grills.
Yeah, I grew up on a cul-de-sac too, and stuff like that always happened. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the block party is probably a mid to late 20th century invention. Although I like you make the point of harvest parties and things. I mean, that's where Thanksgiving came from, was those harvest celebrations. So, one thing I wanted to, before we forget, on this quilt, there's that 5-lobed leaf, almost identical leaf as on the previous quilt. It's just a different color, and it's shaped a little bit differently, but it's that.
What are you talking about on this
Scroll
quilt?
down. Up there on
here.
Yeah. The same leaf exists on the previous quilt in red. It's shaped a little bit different.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Right here.
Yep. So I see things like that, and knowing that these quilts were made within the same community, I'm like, I wonder if that was just a leaf that somebody really liked to make. And that they're the contributor of both of those blocks. I don't know. I mean, we don't know without knowing if there's, specific signatures to be able to compare, etc. And it appears that, these quilts, while there's lots of information on them, there's also really critical information missing. Like, who were some of these for? And I like the one that had gotten to, the Lyra quilt, the next one. I like this one because it talks about, well, I mean, it's sort of sad that it's probably about loss, but that it's got these household items on the sides. So they mentions the butter churn. I noticed, like, up there, kind of top left, there's the bellows for the fire, a mantle clock. There's like a little pitcher, a key, boots. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting things.
These boots up here.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that those are in those setting triangles. And I wonder if that was, whoever was maybe responsible for assembling it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one person collected all the blocks and was going to assemble, because, I mean, certainly if it was a presentation quilt, you wouldn't want to just be like, here's your pile of blocks, good luck. Even though
we present you with this work to do.
Yes, exactly. We present you with a project, half done. Like Arlene's blocks, we kind of question, if hopefully you got a chance to see those when we looked at them on Saturday, but Arlene's blocks, we kind of had a big question mark of, like, why did they not get assembled? And, there's a number of theories. Maybe the woman had requested these blocks and she was going to assemble them herself, or maybe they were the extras that didn't fit into the quilt that got me, or whatever. But this one I could see is, you know, if it truly was a quilt that was being, you know, made and given, you know, for someone's loss, like something significant. I could see one person who was responsible for putting them all together and going, okay, what are we going to put in those setting triangles? And somebody saying, let's do household goods. And, you know, it seems to me that maybe one person worked on all those because they've kind of got a look about them that's the same. Anyway, I thought they were really cool.
What really strikes me, and like I guess other people will notice this as we kind of get, because again, I didn't take photos of everything in these chapters from the books because, you know, just like museum exhibits, I try not to do that. But these are all so different. You know, they might have, like you said, like there's a leaf block that looks similar, but so far we've looked at 3 or 4 different quilts, right? And they all have very different vibes to them, very different styles, different blocks. So it's interesting that I feel like this genre of quilt really seems to be at this particular moment in time where I feel like individualism is really flourishing. Kind of, you know. And I was gonna say I didn't read the thing for here. So this is the Lyre quilt circa 1850. Again, the Ladies Sewing Circle of the Cumberland Center Congregational Church, Cumberland Center, Maine. Cotton silk wool, 83 by 76 and a half, several blocks, repeat patterns, and embroidery motifs. There you go, from other C4 quilts.
I knew I saw that somewhere.
Note the use of images of things found in the home, such as butter churn, mantle clock, wood stove implements, courtesy of historic New England.
And, you know, one of the blocks on this one that I think is really interesting, other than that, the household implements and the leaf, that spiral.
Yes.
My guess, the way that they did that was they just took a piece of fabric and then they drew the spiral and then they just cut and needle turned. Because it's such a tight spiral. I can't imagine a person cutting that out and then trying to put it down. I think they probably marked it and cut as they sewed.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's not something that I've seen a whole lot. I mean, I've seen some spiral things. At first I kind of was like, is it a snake? But it's not. But yeah, that one's really interesting too.
I really, really like this one on the following page on 66. This is the Captain Wilson quilt, 1851, Ladies Sewing Circle of Cumberland Center Congregational Church, Cumberland Center, Maine. Cotton silk, 88 by 62. Some of the motifs are found in other Cumberland Center quilts. This quilt also has unique ones, including the captain's home and unusual floral arrangements, courtesy of the Cumberland Historical Society. This really, you know, also like looking at this like massive breadth of things and where they're from, really goes to show you that when you're traveling, don't discount these tiny like historical societies that are maybe only open 4 days a week. Like, they have stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
did you want to talk about the cigar?
So the colors in this one in particular, they make me feel like bright and happy.
Yeah, this one has got that same, you know, scrappy background kind of thing going on. And yeah, it's just like that first one we looked at. I think it's a lot more alive, I guess, because of the color backgrounds.
Interestingly, they took, you know, to make the setting triangles, they took blocks and cut them in half, but then they kept them right next to each other.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
And yeah, although this one's an outlier, instead of breaking them up, actually, yeah, that's the only outlier. So someone's like, we need an extra like setting triangle here. Like somebody, well, I thought it was something else at first.
Well, I was like, what is that? I didn't think it was anything bad. I was just like, what in the heck is it? And you know, it looks like they just took a ribbon and just rolled it up. And I know there might be something inside that they've wrapped the ribbon around, but what an interesting addition to a quilt.
And then I thought this block in particular was really cool. It's depicting the captain's house.
Yeah.
And like, here's a picture of the house, like today.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like
Like,
it's got like new siding, new windows, and everything, but it does look exactly the same.
hmm yeah, it might be painted differently because this one's depicting it as white.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I thought that was so cool. And now that I'm like looking at it, like the bottom of this block right here with this close up is very interesting. And that means that
That's
where
it's
is
the flag block.
oh I'm like looking at that like what oh yeah the flag block has like a border around it.
Yeah, it's like a very
And I
twisty turny.
understand that it's like since we can't like zoom in, but like if this looks like it was writing that someone put white out all over because it's so zoomed out. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at these like sails that they did with like this big lighthouse and like I couldn't even do this kind of work and make it look good. Like my level of expertise is like this.
Cigar.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, why am I did you have your speaker on or something? I was
No.
I was getting major feedback of myself.
Oh. Maybe yourself was tired of listening to you.
Probably. That's a good chance.
Yeah, I was like, quiet, lady, quiet.
Yeah. Um Lots of flags and anchors on these quilts, by the way.
Well,
Obviously,
remember the
we're in
community.
a seafaring group of people. Yes, absolutely, I get that. And same thing. I mean, the flags throughout the Civil War period also make sense. I mean, like the sense of patriotism.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then also like I mean, I didn't on page 68, yeah, there's talk about how there's a lot of anchors
Hmm.
as well,
Yep.
which makes a lot of sense because and it's also like there's an inset photo here of a Civil War monument in Kennebunk, Maine, which you drive right through on Route 95. And it says, note the anchor motif at the base of the monument. A similar motif is found on uh, in a similar motif is found on a monument in Cumberland Center, across from the community church.
Yep. I
And
mean,
then that they usually have hope.
it looks
Like some.
pretty identical to the anchor on the first quilt. I'm just,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the one that really stands out when you look at the quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
so moving on to see the Fisherville Friendship Quilt. I thought this one was interesting because at first, I guess like that blue must be either faded or it's just the way it's photographed. Up close, you realize that that's like a double blue, isn't it?
Yeah, she clearly calls it double blue.
Yeah, and you can see that in the second picture, like on page 70. When you look up
Mm-hmm.
close at that, you can see that that's a double blue. On page 69, it looks like a grayish green to me.
It does.
And I
Yeah.
think that's probably the photography and the book
Mm-hmm.
printing, but that you can see it more clearly on page 70. And this one little section here on page 70, this quilt, I mean, this section to me, if I didn't know better, I would have immediately said, oh, that looks very Pennsylvania Dutch because of those colors. Those are very
Mm-hmm.
Dutchy colors, but I think, pulling back the layout, everything else, it would not be a Pennsylvania Dutch quilt because of what the block is, what the layout is, the cut corners, all that. So
Well, there's a part of me that even says they've used too many colors. Like, remember, like Pennsylvania, they love their like 3 and 4 color quilts.
yeah, that too. But what I'm saying is on page 70, that piece there.
Yeah.
The browns are probably usually you have a good brown back on a Pennsylvania Dutch quilt. Maybe not necessarily all the brown on the front. But they love the red and the green and the yellow and yeah, so I to me this was just a reminder that there's a whole bunch of elements when you're kind of looking at a quilt you don't know anything about. There's a lot of elements you have to consider, not just the fabrics, not just the type of blocks, not just the layout. You have to kind of look at it all together.
Mm-hmm. And then on the following page is this quilt here. The how do you say this? Emmaus?
Emmaus, yeah.
And this one really starts, like, we're definitely starting to get super extra and fancy with this one, because this one also has like this like fringe on the bottom.
Yeah, I think the fringe is actually on 3 sides. In this picture, it's only yeah, you can only see it on the bottom of the picture, but in the narrative, she talks about it being on 3 sides.
Oh, you know what? You can kind of see it in close up.
Yeah, this one. So
like right here.
The first column, second to the bottom. That block, it's got it's the pink in the center, and then that is like extra. I feel like everything in that row is super extra.
I had taken a close up of this, not knowing if like zooming in on here would work okay.
But yeah, these quilters for sure were like, okay, all right, ladies.
Yeah, and this is our Alicia, I don't know if you're still here, but this is our Virginia quilt. And this one's in the Valentine Museum in Richmond.
Yeah, the Valentine is a fantastic little museum in Richmond. Yeah, in Kent County, if you're not familiar, Kent County is like kind of out it's sort of between Williamsburg and Richmond.
So yeah, and then you mentioned some broderie purse, and like these like flower things look like they're broderie purse, perhaps. Yeah, this one, like this here, this one's something else. It is something else.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they almost were like trying to outdo each other. And it seems to me like there must have been some like maybe vague planning, because you see there's like the 4 wig roses, which, can you point those out? So it's if you go down the center column, it's the 3rd one down as the first one. And then the next row, it's on either end.
Oh, and then I guess I see what you mean.
The next row, the center again, is another wig rose, and that one's different. But nonetheless, there's 4 wig roses. And then in each of the corners, then you've got some form of round thing. You know, they're clearly all different. And then you've got these paper cut things that are, you know, like oak leaf. There's like 4 of them. So it seems to me like, actually, there's more than 4 of them, I think. But again, it seems to me like they maybe had kind of a general, like, you know, maybe 4 people were like, I'm going to make a wig rose. And they're like, all right, we can have 4 wig roses, no more. And I'm going to make a round thing. All right, 4 round things, no more.
Well, and then you've got these blocks that are mirrors. This one, and then this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of planning here. I did not, and like this block here is similar. You know? Yeah,
and you kind of wonder, like, I mean, the ones that are the same, I mean, I intuitively would guess the same person made them. But then you've got ones that are like, when they're similar, did the same person make those as well? Like, you know, it's a question.
Well, and it would also be because this is getting incredibly stylized compared to what we were looking at previously in Maine. Now, I'm thinking, right? And again, this is all theory, okay? But if we have people transplanting, right? And that is generally how styles tend to move. We've got someone transplanting from Maine that had to come down through Pennsylvania, Maryland. You know, are we maybe seeing other traditions of quilt making and block making and things like that, and we're ending up, because like this one down here, this still looks very Maine to me compared to those other ones we looked at,
right? And
but it's some of this other stuff, I'm seeing stuff that looks like maybe we're in Pennsylvania, could we maybe see some Baltimore album quilts on our way. Like,
now here's the monkey wrench in that. How many Baptists are there in Maine? Because Emmaus is a Baptist church, or was a Baptist church.
Well, so, that's not to say someone didn't get married.
Sure, I mean,
this is in Virginia.
Sure, yeah, of course. But I guess that's my question. Like, how do you connect what goes on in Maine with what is happening? This is a rural area now. Like, it was super rural back then. So
This was presented to a Dr. John G. Carter at the time of the dedication of a new church building.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, considering the way that marriage tends to work, we're dealing with wives making this, we could have a lot of transplantation.
Sure, of course. Yeah. And it was a tobacco region. Lots
Mm-hmm.
of Virginia, coastal Maryland, Virginia, and of course the Carolinas were, or North
Because
Carolina was tobacco.
well, I mean, like, or for all we know, the only thing main about this is the fact that she was like, let me show you this new way to put it together. And like, you make every block separate.
Yeah.
And
Or
then,
it could be anything. I mean, we suggest this that neighbors could visit each other even if they're different, religious communities, and be like, tell me about this. You know?
yeah, I really did not appreciate until you pointed it out how planned this particular one is, with balance of what's going on. Well, I mean, we cannot look at it all day because we have more.
We got to move on. The Howard
Yeah,
Sunday
this was the
School.
close-up I took.
Yeah. The Howard Sunday School quilt it's probably my second favorite out of all these. They're all
You
my
knew
favorite.
I was gonna take a pic. You knew I was gonna take a picture of this one because it's so unique in the quilting.
I do not love red and white quilts. I think as much as the Joanna Rose, we know she's the woman that it was her collection of red and white quilts that formed the what is it called, the the infinite. Oh, why can't I find my words?
I can see the cover of the book right now.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
The famous red and white exhibit.
The famous red and white exhibit from 2011. I probably would have lost my mind at that exhibit because I'd be like, too much red. But this...
All right, everyone, we burn her at the stake tomorrow at noon.
This is so incredible. I mean, visually, it is... I don't even know what to say. It's visually stunning. I have a little bit of issues with some of the balance, the way that the circles and the squarish components kind of don't exactly work out perfectly from a symmetrical standpoint, but I still really like this one.
And this one, everybody, is the Howard School Quilt, 1853. Various makers, Boston, Massachusetts. Cotton, 94 by 93. 25 complicated patterns, 18.5-inch blocks, composed a stunning quilt made block by block. There are only 10 signatures on the block. Some names are repeated. That's interesting. And some blocks are unsigned. Courtesy of Historic New England.
Yeah, and I thought what was interesting about this one is that she said the inspiration for these patterns may have been the elaborate pieced silk table mats published in Godey's. So I was like, ooh, I only have a couple of Godey's, but I was like, it's maybe worth looking around to see. Cause I feel like the Godey's I have don't have it's more of like crochet type needlework in the ones I have. But, yeah, I'm on the lookout for ones that have, piecing and quilting related, stuff.
The other really cool thing about this one, and we've seen it in a couple of others, is we've got this weird fringe on the sides. Which I did get a picture of the close-up of. Came out really nice.
Yeah, and that one is kind of a it's a I don't know.
It almost looks like gauzy to me. I don't know what the real what.
Yeah, I don't. It's not. I don't know. I mean, is it a passementerie or I don't know. It's an interesting thing for sure. It appears to have bubbles.
And you know something? I kind of feel like whoever made this block, some of the stitches look really, really tight, and that makes me happy because the joke is that when I do English paper piecing, I'm doing 300 stitches per inch. I'll have to take pictures.
Those pieces are never coming apart.
Yeah. Moving on, we get this again. We're super duper stylized.
So it looks like I know you said you didn't photograph everything and you did do some skipping ahead, but I have to mention the Yale Engine Company quilt that's on page 77 because this one was interesting to me. This is the one that's all cut, paperwork, cut paper. Paper cut. There's a handful of piece, there's that big beautiful star, but this one is so interesting because from, when you're moved back from it, you're like, oh, they're all brown. But if you actually look closely, it is a red paisley design that just reads as brown because of the, the scale, the size and scale. This is just another like really interesting, I think very stunning quilt. And the only fabric that's different is the stripes of the flag. Everywhere else where you see that fabric, like all of the blocks are made of that fabric. And then you've got that one wreath that's kind of in the middle there. And I can't tell if is that broderie purse? Is that something that they've like constructed out of roses or whatever, or was that printed or embroidered? God knows. And then you've got, I think, an embroidery of the little engine pump or pump wagon thing. But otherwise, I mean, it's really monochromatic. And that's just like, again, it's a departure. So,
and also this one in the bottom too, that's really cool. That's like a
sort of spider webby looking.
Yeah, why couldn't I think of that word? And like just for anyone wondering, because I did not take a photo of this one, so if you're just showing up or anything, obviously the photo on the screen doesn't match. This is the Yale Engine Company quilt, 1853, unknown makers, South Reading, Massachusetts, which is now Wakefield. Cotton silk embroidery, 93 by 78. The inscription in the center block states that the quilt is the ladies' donation to the Fireman's Fair / Yale Engine Company #1, South Reading, July 1853, courtesy of the National Museum of American History.
Yeah. And I think I would be really hard pressed. I would be absolutely surprised, in fact, that if there were any kind of, because I know, like, okay, so mid 19th century, I know, that they were very like the Japanification, they loved the Orientalism, all of that kind of stuff. They were just crazy about the Far East. I'm not saying there's any kind of impact or any kind of references here, but some of these paper cuts kind of look like devices that you'll see in both clothing and like iconography in various parts of Asia.
I can
and
see that.
it's, to me, it's kind of like that, people have their symbols, and those symbols crop up in different places, and it's just coincidental. I'm 99% sure, but you can see that in these, even though there probably is no connection. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I really like that one.
I mean, I have to say, like, there aren't too many in here that I don't like.
I know. No, this one's my favorite. No, actually, that one's my favorite. No, they're all my favorite. On this one here that's on 82, before getting to that, it like we have like a small section here of quilts with Masonic symbols. And just briefly, Pam mentions, several potholder quilts display Masonic symbols. 2 in Civil War, which I didn't take a picture of these because we get to Civil War in the next chapter. But this was where she, had mentioned that this is a place, Masonic stuff is where you can see kind of multiple faiths come together. For a variety, like this is before the National Treasure movies, and Dan Brown, and stuff like that. So I didn't know that there's a Scottish Rite Masonic Museum and Library in Lexington, Massachusetts, which Lexington that's interesting.
Next to Concord when we talk about war stuff.
We have a Masonic temple. It's the Ionic Lodge. Like, I can almost see it from my house.
Yeah, there's one down the street.
And what's interesting, I was doing some research just into my little town, and as it turns out, the Oddfellows were a little bit farther down the block, and they were the original meeting place before the Ionic Temple was built. And the Ionic Temple is like this massive thing. I'm like, I have no idea what they've got in there, but I'm sure you could get in there with a tour or something. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and in Baltimore especially, and I would imagine like up in New England as well. The Masons and the Oddfellows and some of these other benevolent associations were again like another piece of community that was really important in these places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why I didn't take a picture of those. So now in the back of
This
this
is the one that's
chapter,
got a ton of broderie purse in it.
we get into this, and the next one. At the end they had kind of have just like a gallery of quilts, which I had just taken a bunch of stuff of. But it's funny that with that last one we were talking about kind of planning,
Mm-hmm.
and this one to me looks balanced, but not necessarily highly planned like that last one you pointed out.
Right. This one, it seems to me that they got all their blocks and then they went, okay, how do these look? you know?
Yeah, like let's make sure we don't have wreaths next to each other
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one is the Richmond Appliqued Friendship Quilt,
Mm-hmm.
1857, made by members of the Lee Street Baptist Church of Richmond, Virginia, for their pastor, the Reverend Edward Jefferson Willis. Cotton 105 by 105. Whew. The inscriptions are inked, and some blocks contain Bible verses. Some of the blocks are machine quilted, and this is
Yeah.
Colonial Williamsburg Foundation Museum purchase.
Yeah. That's interesting to me that they have it and the Valentine doesn't. The Valentine has a special place in my heart. It was kind of a museum where I dipped in there when I was doing museum studies for my art history minor. So
Oh,
yeah, they're near and dear to me. But this one actually, so that bottom row right there, the third one over, that is either some type of toile or chintz or printed fabric, most likely like drapery kind of stuff that is Asian.
oh,
So yeah, I mean that's indicative of those times. And I mean, remember when we read the Dress Diary,
yep.
what there was in Singapore that was.
This big fascination with
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Asian fabric, Asian decor.
Yep. And then
Hmm.
those two other broderie purse I thought were interesting. That the deer, yep, and then the woman. And I'm not exactly sure what she's doing, but
It looks like she's like searching, like she's
yeah,
like sitting, like looking for something. Yeah. This one I took the picture because it's so different
it
than
is.
everything
Yeah.
else that we've seen. And this one says pieced scripture quilt, circa 1860, unknown maker, possibly Maine, cotton 97 by 88. The white cotton squares in the center of the blocks are inscribed with 28 Bible verses, but no names that might identify the maker or makers. Courtesy of Colonial Williamsburg Foundation.
Um, yeah. This one is so like graphic. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of like the geometrics and of course it's very balanced. And I don't know, my suspicion is maybe it was probably made by just a few people or maybe even one person, because it is very clearly planned and balanced out.
Mm. Yeah, this center block is very interesting, and then these like corresponding like four with these like suns
Hmm.
kind of in them.
Yeah,
It's
and the
very.
hearts, the one in the like the block in the very middle with the
Mhm.
hearts, like those are very interesting.
And then these, I just noticed too. These are little hearts right here.
Hmm. And it's almost, I'm not sure because I'm not Catholic, but um the there's a Catholic imagery. There's like the heart and it's kind of got flames. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely, but I'm not Catholic.
It's like, I mean, it's the kind of thing that these days people get tattoos of, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the exact name of it is. But that's almost like what a very stylized version of that is what that reminds me of, but who knows what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Bible inscriptions might have some shed some light on that, but
Next, this one was pretty cool because I noticed that Pam took it from a magazine.
uh-huh.
Um, and this one is the Craig Friendship Quilt, 1844, various makers, Portland, Maine. So I don't know if we'll see it anywhere in Portland.
Well, I
Um,
think she said it's not there. It's not been located.
oh, did she?
Yeah,
I
down
don't know.
here
I
in the
can't.
the little caption under the bottom, it says it's extensive search
Oh,
has not
yep.
revealed its location. Yeah,
Um,
that's a
but it
bummer,
was
but hopefully
made
it
in
is in Portland.
Portland. I don't know. I feel like I've seen this picture somewhere else too. Um,
Well, it. I don't know. When I first saw it, I was like, "Wait a minute, is that Pam's quilt?" It. I don't know. It's got vibes of the quilt she made.
well, and I'm guessing it's not like it can't like it was obviously last seen because this is the May June 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not it hasn't been lost to time like we couldn't find it since the 1800s, although
Yeah.
I really hope it's not a coat. Um but this so yeah, the magazine article here, the main sampler presentation quilt dated 1843 and 1844 was made by several friends. The blocks were assembled after they were quilted, joined together by a tiny whip stitch on the block side or backside, sorry. One block is an anchor symbolizing the main seaport, Portland, and where the quilt was made. It has come down through the family to its present owner, Betsy Craig of Morrow, Ohio. So I'm guessing they've lost it after maybe Betsy passed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that she might have passed away, and that her
It
ancestors don't
ended up
know.
in a yard
Her
sale.
ancestors, her descendants don't know where it went. Yeah, they should be
Mm.
ashamed of themselves if they put this in Goodwill or sold it in a yard sale. I'm putting it out there, Betsy Craig's family. Be ashamed. Be very ashamed if you let this quilt go.
Stephanie has hexed you. Okay, that is the last one that I have in that chapter. So we're moving on to Civil War. And the first thing that I've got here is this image, but let me just pull up my notes again.
And I downloaded the book, the tribute book that is referenced in here.
So the first note I have on here that we which other book did we read as a group where we were talking about women's efforts during the Civil War?
It was in
Is it Legacy?
Quilts in America.
Quilts America. Okay, so I made a note of this because this is the first time we've come up with this factoid. Um, this note on page 88, Northern women donated an estimated 250,000 quilts during the war years.
Yep.
That's insane. And then also she mentions that about 20 quilts made for soldiers are currently known to exist, all inscribed, and 11 are potholder. The other thing too that I made sure to write down, because I'm going to put it like as a little like note on my wall. Like I'm always whenever we're talking about quilts and like the Civil War and like really Industrial Revolution and like really important dates in time around um that I can like never remember the timelines, like can just never remember them. So this little thing, sewing machines became commercially available during the decade before the war. And then the war obviously, covering like 1861 to 1865. And I'm like, I'm going to put that on the wall.
I mentioned the timeline yesterday. Our friends definitely need to like give us a laundry list of what needs to be. What are the dates I constantly ask for? The Civil War, Victoria and Albert. When did they get married? When did Albert die? When did Victoria die? I need all
Yeah,
that
so
stuff.
yeah, I need like to make myself like a little like timeline because I just like off the top of my head I always forget. Oh, and we've got Carlotta said Sacred Heart imagery of Jesus's love.
Sacred Heart. That's what I was trying to. You know what? And there's the Sacred Heart Church right down the street from me. I should be ashamed of myself for not being able to think of that. Thank you very much.
That's why you couldn't think of it is because it was down the
Yeah.
street from you.
Yeah. But I mean, do you, for those of you that are familiar with that imagery, I know, did that quilt look, I mean, did they look like stylized Sacred Hearts? I don't know. That's just what popped into my head. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so this book, that is, that she has this little, clip from is actually available. And I was going to grab the link to it. It's available on Google Books.
Well, Well, while you're like looking for that, so this is an illustration from the tribute book, 1865. This book by Frank B. Goodrich is a record of the work done by those serving on the home front during the Civil War, with emphasis on women's work, and is filled with illustrations, blah, such as this collection of the author. I thought that this was such an awesome illustration. That's why I was like, I have to put this in here. Busy
Yeah,
finger.
and it's one of those books, and I only downloaded it today, but it is definitely one of those books that's like full of all of the beautiful flowery etchings, engravings.
I was gonna say, I hope you're paying attention to these links you're putting in the chat, because you're gonna have to go back and stick them in in the description as well.
Okay.
Because I don't have them.
Yeah. But yeah, so if I can share my screen real quick so you can see one of them. And I think that, I don't know if there's something wrong with this scanning, because it looks kind of weird, but okay, so you can see here, this is one of those, like, where's the, no, I've got the bar. So you can see, like, this is one of those crazy engravings with all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So, Women of America, this volume is respectfully dedicated by their countrymen. And then, you've got, well, that's the University of Michigan. Let's see, this is what I was looking for. According to an act of Congress. I mean, Congress doesn't come up with stuff like this anymore. But I mean, look at this. This illustration is gorgeous. And I think book publishers would just, they would stick things into like wreath type settings, printing plates, but nonetheless, it's really beautiful. And so anyway, the gist of it is this book does talk extensively about the Sanitary Commission, not just the federal one, but also state ones. So if you at any point do need to do some research into what the efforts were there, I think this is probably a really good resource.
Well, and then like on the quilt side too, like this, even though like there's a lot of quilts in here, this chapter is pretty light on the reading, because obviously Pam has written another book specifically about Civil War quilts. So I think that's why she focused more on the gallery of quilts side of things in this particular chapter.
And as a note, the Portland album quilt, I'm very curious to know what all is written on that thing. I know that there's some close-ups on page 88 and 89, and just what I can see, like, it is dense. Like, the stuff, I mean, I guess it's scripture and stuff. But wow, that's a lot. Can you imagine being the soldier that somebody came and, like, laid that on you, an injured soldier, and you're like, oh my God, that's a lot to read.
Yeah, I also, I didn't take a note. Do you happen to, like, know off the top of your head there how, what size they were aiming for quilts? I know they were narrow.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't know that she actually gave a size in there.
Yeah,
it's just that they were, was there? I know she said that, they were requested to be long, long narrow quilts. And every time I hear that, all I can think about is like being in college and those bizarre beds that they have in dorms that are narrower and longer than normal beds.
Yeah, something like that. I want to say it was something feet by like 86 inches. Wait. 4 feet wide by 84 inches long.
Okay, what page is that on?
It's right in the beginning on 88. It's the top of the second column.
Oh, okay.
And the Sanitary Commission published bulletins listing needed items.
Okay. Quilts of cheap materials.
Quilts of cheap material. Let me go back.
I totally missed that.
My screen. Because the quilt you're talking about, I have a picture of. This one. And obviously this is not one of the narrow ones, but this is the Portland Album Quilt 1864, attributed to Carrie Davis and Cornelia, I love that name. Cornelia Doe, Portland, Maine, cotton 81 by 71. The majority of the inscriptions in the quilt's central area are those of Carrie Davis and Cornelia M. Dow. Um, there are also several names inscribed that include a town of origin and, quote, home institute. There's the one here, like this one is so busy with stuff on it, and like this one, they almost look like when you first glance that like it's dirty. Obviously it's not.
Right, or that there's some other kind of printing or something on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's really simple quilting. So yeah, like
Yeah,
things like
exactly. It's not very densely quilted and
well, and I mean there is mention here that like these particular quilts would have Bible verses, poems, letters of encouragement, funny things on it. To keep, yeah, let's see, reflecting various sentiments meant to entertain, enlighten, amuse, and encourage soldiers. The inscriptions include patriotic slogans, health tips, Bible verses, and puns.
health tips. Don't do that or you're going to go blind.
Yeah, like don't eat yellow snow.
So that the red star there that has like lots of density, that looks like some of those look like stamps or drawings.
I'm sure they're probably
I mean, I can see an anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess they're drawings because like that's real. This is really big.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
when you
right.
consider how much writing's fit in there. So it's fine.
Yeah.
And since we know now what overachievers some of these people were compared to us today and their drawing abilities,
Right.
like there are so many drawings that I was like, it's got to be a stamp, and nope, it's drawing. Wow. Crazy. Then so here we go into the narrow stuff. I'm just gonna move a little bit faster just because we're already at 8:30.
Yeah.
Your girl still has to do laundry. So here we've got Album Quilt 1864, attributed to Charlotte F. I think that's Hussey or like Hussey.
Hussey.
Oh, that's unfortunate. With various signers, Detroit, Michigan. Cotton 93 by 58. Although it was made in Detroit, many signatures were gathered from New England, and Charlotte Hussey was from Massachusetts, courtesy of the International Quilt Museum.
So I'm wondering then if this had something to do with some change of life that went between Massachusetts and Michigan.
And what's interesting about this one is, remember how we were talking about, maybe with Arlene's blocks, like, could there have been a reason they were left out? Like maybe they were the wrong size or something like that. This person didn't give a rat's patoot about anything because there's like, see here, like there's so much stuff that doesn't match up with like size, and they were just like, make rows.
Gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work.
Stick it together in rows. Well, you can see like it's a little cut off here, but this top here, they just hacked the block off.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it kind of goes like up. Yeah, it looks like the right hand side of the quilt's pretty good. It's when you get over to that left hand side that things go a little.
And this central medallion screwed them up a bit because like they didn't see here, like they didn't care to line up with that central block.
Yeah.
But we love it, right? I mean, come on.
You know what? If you can make it work and get that quilt finished, that's what matters.
Yeah, get it finished and get it out. Because it's got to keep some soldiers warm. Next we have this one where I don't know if the quilt is really this dark or if it's because I actually lightened this photo just a smidge.
Yeah, the photography on this one makes it look really, really dark.
Yeah, so I'm not sure like if that's the quilt or if that's the photography. I did take a close up of a couple of blocks here, but this one's Album Quilt 1865, attributed to Susan Loring Jackson, Beverly Farms, Massachusetts. I'm assuming that's just Beverly today. Cotton 84 by 56. Susan L. Jackson signed several of the blocks, as well as the names of her two youngest children, both her eldest son, Patrick Tracy Jackson, and her brother, and her brother. The eldest son and her brother. Okay, there we go. Charles Greeley Loring served in the Union Army. Collection of the Rochester Historical Association, Rochester, New York. These, yeah, so I added a little more light and took some close-ups just because there is so much writing on here that you really
Yeah.
can't, it's hard to tell in the photo. Like I can't tell what any of it is, but like it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like more of those like passages, poems, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the corners in those blocks, that rose fabric is just repeated over and over. So,
Mm-hmm. And then we got this one.
I love this one because it's just objects, and I think objects are cool.
Well, and this is also, again, why I kind of breezed over the Masonic, because I knew we were going to look at this. And this one, in my opinion, is better than the first examples in the Masonic portion. So this is Album Quilt 1864, made by the Ladies' Aid Society of Portland, Maine. Cotton and silk, 80.5 by 58.5. The Munjoy Hill Civil War quilts were made in the neighborhood in Portland, Maine, that surrounds the Portland Observatory. Both quilts have several blocks there, because there's another one on the adjoining page on 99, but I didn't take a photo of that one. I think that one, if I remember correctly, actually both of these probably, I think they might also be in the main quilts book as well.
Are they?
So presumably we might see it again. Let's see, both quilts have several blocks made by the same women, including depictions of the observatory, collections of the Mystic Seaport Museum, Mystic, Connecticut. Huh. I'm going to be right near there the other day. But yeah, like just to give you an idea, like this is the adjoining, which is very similar. I just picked this one because this one isn't as dark, so it's easier to look at.
Yeah, and I did note the thing, but so this one, what is that in the center?
This?
Yeah, what is that?
It's a chess piece.
That's what I thought. Is
It's
that
a
what
pawn. No, I don't know what it is.
Okay, yeah, because the observatory.
But it looks like a pawn.
Yeah, at first I thought, oh, that must be the observatory, but no, the observatory is like under the drum.
Let's look at this right side up. The observatory is under the drum.
It's third column.
This?
Yeah, that's the observatory.
Oh,
because it's also on the other quilt. So
look, there's a trowel.
I know. That would be part of I think the Masons.
I've just never seen it depicted so lifelike like that.
I know.
That looks like legit. And then we've got like, more Freemasonry here. We've got our anchors here because we're Maine. This eagle's pretty awesome. This is the first time I've seen a book.
Yeah. And I think that red thing that's on the other side of the anchor, I think is it a sextet? Is that the thing that it's like, yeah, it's like a hingey thing and they use it for charting stars on ships.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what all of that is because in here it's not charted, the squares. It could be in another book.
Yeah, and I made note of all of the either red, white, and blue shields or the flags, and there are a lot in these quilts. And I mean, again, we know it's the Civil War. It's Masons are quite patriotic. Like it's a patriotic time, but yeah, these ladies like to sneak those red, white, and blue things in there.
Yeah, I mean we've even got like swords in here. I like how this date up here is really cool. And then we've got cannons, so it's almost like all encompassing here of who they are and what's going on in their world.
Yep.
So I think this is our last one here. This one is on
103.
Thank you, dear. Another long one. So album quilt 1863 attributed to the Ladies Industrial Union, Florence, Massachusetts. Cotton 85 by 53. The Free Congressional Society of Florence published a report in which the author found several of the names on the quilt that could be puzzled out from the photographs. The Ladies Industrial Union was organized to, quote, do good works. Private collection.
We too have organized ourselves to do good works.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are doing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this because you were just talking about how much everyone loves their flags, and like this one has a huge flag in the middle of it, as well as like again, lots of. This is some. I mean, I can't see it super well, but I can see it well enough to know that it looks like pretty darn good penmanship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it appears that those blocks are also very full. They're
And
not
this
just
one
a
looks
signature.
like it says "Rally Round the Flag Boys."
Yeah, so definitely a patriotic endeavor. So I know that you didn't take pictures of the quilt that's shown on page 100 and 101. That one I thought was interesting because that combines you and me. So on page 100, it's the album quilt 1865, attributed to Rebecca Sibley of Boston. Cotton 87.5 by 58.5. James George of the 76th Regiment of the New York Infantry was the recipient, probably when admitted to a hospital in Washington, D.C. He fought in the battles of Gettysburg and Fredericksburg, which is where I grew up, and was captured and imprisoned in Andersonville, Georgia, released in February 1865, and it's at your museum. So the guy who got it fought in a battle in my hometown, and it is now in your museum in Lowell.
Well, isn't that cute?
I know, it's funny, the small worlds, how yeah.
You are sharing this in. For some reason, my screen looks really. Oh, never mind.
So next time we get to look at a multitude of fabrics.
Yeah, let me just boop, boop, doop, doop, doop. Okay. Just as a reminder for anybody that came in late, next week we're doing chapter 6 and 7, pages 106 to 145. And then, Steph, make sure you still have those links handy to stick into the description.
Yes'm.
Because I don't have them. Well, I have to go do stuff to get ready to leave tomorrow. But hopefully that means that we'll have like really cool stories to tell and photos and things that.
We'll be up to some kind of shenanigans that we can report on.
Yeah. And I mean, in the meantime, thanks y'all for being here. We really appreciate you.
We do. Love to see our friends.
And who knows, maybe we'll come home with things to give away because we like to do that. And the Schwenkfelder does have a pretty decent.
They do. They also have that yard sale situation that
they do.
Yeah, you and I always check that out first thing. So, yeah, they'll have reproduction fabrics and like just books that have been donated.
That's where I got my fabric covered history of cotton.
Yeah. You snatched that up so fast, like I don't think I ever even saw it.
Nope, and I got it for like $1.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the great thing about their books is like they are selling them just to get rid of them. So.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna go do laundry and pack and things that aren't fun. But Steph, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania.
Yay! And the rest of you, we will see on Monday. This coming Monday, if you tune into my show, and if not, we will see you in a week here.
I'm flies. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Bye. Yeah. So Arlene just mentioned in the main book, page 128.
Yep, I thought it might be in the main book.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arlene.